Right, I better do it because I think his chatter is electronically static or whatever they call it. Okay, folks. As we said, we've got a very special guest in here today, and I know we've seen her once or twice, but we love her to bits. And that's our current England captain at Saints, Captain Jodie Cunningham. I'll try it again. Use your other hand. Go away from that. Try over there, so there.
Right, so first question for you, Jod.
Yeah.
We're on the Vegas train. I'll just talk, it's easier.
I know.
Right, just talk, guys.
We're on the Vegas train.
Yes.
Obviously, big step for Women's Rugby League. How do you feel about it, and where's the growth going?
Yeah. Oh, it's me as well now. Too close to you. Yeah. Right. I'll put that down. I'm gonna put that down. I'll just shout. Yeah, Vegas. I never thought rugby league would take to Vegas. I'll be honest. It wasn't something I ever expected. But I'm really excited. I think the opportunity for us to showcase rugby league at the top, opportunity in the game, like Las Vegas. I think it's an American market that would love rugby league, and for us to have the women's game there, I think it's mega. So yeah, it's an opportunity that I'm really looking forward to, and hopefully we can do England proud. We've got a lot of Saints girls in that England team, so hopefully we can do Saints proud when we're repping out there as well, because we don't just want Warrington and Wigan, do we, represented? So we're gonna rep for Saints while we're out there.
And obviously a new coach. How's that transition been? Has it been what you expected, or has there been challenges?
At Saints or England?
England.
So yeah, new coach at England. So Stuart Barrow has took over as our head coach. He's had a couple of years now. This is probably his first test. He's built lots of confidence in us. I think we've had 3-4 games under him, and we've not conceded a try yet in those 3 or 4 games. But obviously, played against Wales, played against France, playing against Australia and the best in the world is a completely different ball game. So I can't imagine we're going to keep them scoreless. So this is Stu's big test. I think for us, it's all about making sure that we don't give the Aussies too much respect. They're the best in the world for a reason. But we're going out there to do a job, and we've got to have confidence in ourselves, otherwise there's no point in taking the field. So yeah, I think it's going to be a good opportunity to see what the head coach is now like under pressure, as well as this new sort of younger team, myself excluded, and see how they go against the best in the world when we're really put under pressure.
And do you think, obviously, over the years when Craig was involved, you've played France and Wales, and obviously it's important that they play and keep developing. But obviously that jump from Wales and France is a massive jump. How do you really plan on coping with that?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think the international game's a really great opportunity for rugby league that we've not took advantage of fully, and the women's game actually gives a bit of a different opportunity. We've played Wales a couple of times over the last few years. They'd never had an international side until 2021. That side is probably 90% fully Welsh, born, live in Wales, Welsh accent players. Now, it would be so hard to get to that point in the men's game, whereas because of where we're starting at in the women's game, it provides a great opportunity. Scotland have now just started trials for a Scotland women's team, again with how well they do in rugby union. There's a great opportunity to have a strong Scotland team. So for me, investing and making sure we keep building the home nations is really important, because we can't only ever play against Australia and New Zealand. We definitely can't afford to either, because let's face it, this game wouldn't be happening if it wasn't for Australia. The NRL are funding this full trip for England women, so they've paid flights, they've paid the accommodation. We literally are just funding sort of our costs whilst we're there. We would not be able to afford it as a sport if Australia didn't invest that money into us. So we can't just rely on them. We've got to make sure we build something this side of the water, and hopefully the plans are in place that we're going to have a home nations or a version of that for the women, and I think quite quickly we could get a competitive home nations competition. So all of that, supporting Wales, France, are really important. Irrelevant of the score lines, getting international rugby league out there, getting young girls exposed to big games under big pressure, I think is all really important.
Do you think, like you've just said, a home nations thing, obviously the other code, they do a Six Nations.
Yeah.
And I've said for years, like they used to do the Gillette Four Nations when I was a nipper, but I always thought that was a great product. I mean, why change something that's not broke? I think there's something in that. If we can get like a Six Nations style competition that goes on yearly, I think you may see more progression.
I agree, and it's an opportunity to market the game. If you look at any other successful sports, it's the international game that brings in so much of that commercial revenue and that money, and we as a sport are backwards, and actually our international game costs us most of the time, which, you know, we need to fix that. And I think, like you say, having regular home nations, Four Nations competitions is a good opportunity to do that. Us as England women as well, we probably need to separate ourselves a little bit from the men at times. We only ever do it as double headers, so we never really get a chance to build our own audience of people who want to just pay and come and watch England women. So hopefully if this home nations gets off the ground, which will be a women's home nations, it gives us a chance to do that, which I think will be really important for our growth, and hopefully we can have a knock-on effect and impact the lads as well. You know, for me, I think we need a name. So if you see in others, you have the Red Roses with the rugby union team. You've got the Vitality Roses, which is the England netball team. So I keep pushing that we need our own name. I don't know what it is, not thought of one yet. So if anyone's got any ideas, I'm going to push that hard.
Well, you do pretty much every job.
Angels, all right, I'll take the Angels.
you do pretty much every job known to man. So another one wouldn't go amiss, would it? Let's be fair.
What sort of special preparation have you had to do? What's Stu had to do? Because obviously you've got an 8-hour time difference, you've got a different humidity with the locality where you're going to be. Have you had to have any special preparations to get you ready for that transition across the pond?
I think all the focus really has just been getting as much time together as we can. As England women, we probably get 10 times the amount of time together as the men do, just because we need that. So we've focused a lot on doing a full pre-season as England. We basically haven't had an off-season, so as soon as the Saints season finished, we jumped into like an England pre-season, and every weekend we've been together as a squad training and preparing for this. It was a squad of 31, which got narrowed down 2 weeks ago to 20, which was really sad for the 11 that missed out. They were really devastated, it was hard. Some of our girls are one of the ones that missed out, and that's really tough. So all that focus has just been getting as much time together as we can. This last camp, so we had a 3-day camp this last weekend just gone. That's where we got down into a little bit more of the detail of the travel arrangements, what we do when we get there, you know, how we plan our time sleeping on the plane to make sure that jet lag affects us as least as we can when we get there. No, there's all sorts of different prep work, you know, some of the medical conversations happening with the doctor around females and times in the month and all that lot. These things that you don't think about that all have to go into this prep work, so that when you get to game day you are 100% working at your max and feeling as confident as you can. So there's loads of things that you don't really think about, that once it gets to this level of detail and you're looking at 1% that we sort of discuss with all our staff, which we're really lucky enough to have.
Because you're going to get the same for the Aussies as well, because they're flying across from where they are, so it's obviously going to affect them as well. But it's going to be such a big spectacle if you think about it. It's going to be beamed over here, but around all the networks in the States as well. How good is that going to be? I know my son's been pinging me from America. We're going to watch it, Dad. I said, just keep your eyes open. I said, the channels will have it. And it's something that's got to be pushed, and I think the NRL are doing a good job of publicising it over there. So it's, from what you're doing, you've got to shout it loud and proud, which you already are doing. But yeah, get that name thought out. So if we've got a poll of names, folks, chuck them Jodie's way, then we can have them. I think moving on from the England, we've got one question we've got to ask you. What's it like working with the Chuckle Brothers again?
Oh, I know.
In other words, if you don't know who the Chuckle Brothers is, folks, it's Craig Richards and Dec Hardman, but they are two great coaches, but at times.
Yeah, we're really lucky, to be honest. We've got 2 head coaches now, which is a new experience. You know, having two people heading up the team is quite a new experience, but they work so well together. Craig Richards was England head coach and Derek Hardman was assistant coach. When Derek Hardman was head coach at Saints, Craig sort of did my job a little bit, was like more that overseeing the rugby planning side of things. So they've always worked really closely together, and they pretty much agree on most things. It'll be interesting when it gets to actually selecting a team, whether that is still the case. But no, they're brilliant, and I think obviously Craig was a forward, so he's done majority of his work has been working with the forwards in pre-season. Derek was an outside back, he was a centre, so a lot of his work he's done with our backs, and so it's worked perfectly really, because you've got two sort of quality coaches that can split off and give more detailed coaching, and then you've got different personalities as well which work better with certain players, and I think that sort of approach, knowing that you've got somebody to go to no matter what your problem is, I think personal or rugby wise, they're both brilliant. It's a really lucky position for us to be in.
I think for 2025 season you've got some new additions, or should we say we've got a couple of old faces coming back into the squad, but we've got some cracking new additions. What's that like, with having this new influx of players back in again? I know it's going to put a lot of pressure on some players, but must be good.
Yeah, it's brilliant. So we've got Amy Hardcastle and Shona Hoyle, who used to play at Saints, who've left, thought the grass was greener, but realised that it's great at Saints. So they've come back.
Goal kicker. You got another goal kicker.
Yeah, we've got Caitlin Casey who's come in as well. So she's a young halfback from Leeds. Brilliant talent, can play in the halves. She can goal kick. She can kick in play. She can play hooker as well. So she's amazing. Her attitude, she's got stuck right in, and we're really blessed actually in the halves role. We've got a lot of competition there. Zoe had an outstanding season last year. Faye's decided to go again, so we've still got Faye as well. And then we've got Amy Taylor, who's a fantastic goal kicker, who's in that mix. And if we look at our academy, we've got some amazing halfbacks in the academy as well. So really, really blessed with young talent, sort of either in the squad or coming up. But we've really bolstered the squad, I think, this year with some experience as well. The likes of Amy, the likes of Shona, they want to come here to win trophies. They're at that point in the career, similar to myself, where you're just trying to get everything you can, and you don't want to have any regrets or leave anything out there. And that's what we're going to get from those two. Is absolutely 100%.
What about the famous drop goal? Have they got a good drop goal?
The drop goal. Well, Faye's still here now, so now we've got Faye who can hopefully repeat that if we need it. I hope it doesn't get to that point. Yeah, well, I'm hoping we don't get to a drop point scenario, but yeah, we're very lucky to have really good kickers in the side, so that if it came down to a game that was close, I'd back us to have the talent and the right people in the right places to do that, which is
when you played York last year, there's 4 kicks over to that win with the little girl, the young girl.
Yeah.
They scored 3 tries, didn't they?
Yeah.
Why wasn't that done after the first kick?
Yeah.
They sorted out, didn't they?
I know, it was unfortunate.
3 tries, who was winning? Who was running away with it?
I know, that grand final is one that'll probably haunt us for a while. We should have won a treble last year, to be honest. We had the squad to do it, and we were the best team throughout the year. And when it came to it, in that 80 minutes, we weren't good enough. Like say, a few errors in backfield, I think, cost us. But I think there was errors throughout the game. We've watched some of the first few minutes back, and defensively we were so poor in the first 10 minutes, and you can't blame fatigue for any of that. So yeah, I think we've learned a lot of lessons from that, so that hopefully that doesn't happen again. But yeah, we're ready to kick on and hopefully get that grand final trophy this year. But first off, we start the season with the Challenge Cup, so we play every round of the Challenge Cup up to the semi-final, which hopefully we win to get to the final, and then that's when the Women's Super League starts, so we can really focus on the Challenge Cup and make sure we put ourselves in a good place to retain that.
And who's putting pressure on you? Or do you put pressure on yourself to do more for the team? Because I see you do everything within. I'm not blowing your trumpet here, but you do everything. You do everything within that team well. Wherever you put, you seem to thrive. And on some occasions, other people, I'm not saying they're not quite as committed, but they don't seem to have that drive to really want to succeed.
I think look, we're really lucky. We've got a squad of girls that work so hard, and I think experience probably helps me. Is that I've been there and I've done it before, and I'm probably fortunate that I've seen it when it was rubbish and no one cared, and we were playing on parks, and none of you would have a clue that women even played, let alone that you had a team in St Helens that were winning trophies. So I think that gratitude of where it was and to where it got to, I think is something that drives me, because I never thought any of the things that happen year on year, it's always better than it has been before, and every single time I think, wow, I never thought that'd happen. I never thought we'd play at Wembley, and then I get to play at Wembley and I get to lift a trophy at Wembley, and then I get to go and do it again, and you know, going to Vegas and all these things. Like I pinch myself at how lucky I've been that I get to experience those things. So that drives me, because I've only probably got 2 seasons maybe left where I can play at this level, so I want to make sure I get everything I can out of it, and for me to get everything I can out of it, I need to give the team everything I can, and I'm not really bothered where I play or what I have to do. I remember saying it to Craig, and he denies this. He says he didn't give me loads of rubbish, but when he took over as England head coach, I don't think, you know, he didn't know where my place was. He didn't know what my position was. He weren't sure, you know, if I would play for him. And I just remember him saying, you need to stop being obsessed with starting games, because that's probably not going to happen for you. And I just said, I don't care where I play, I don't care where you see me, because he said, you're nowhere near me pack, you are never going to be anywhere near my pack. You're maybe cover fullback, maybe a half, you might do a little bit of centre. And I said, I don't care where, but I'm going to make it impossible for you not to play me. And he laughed. He laughed, and I said, I'm going to work that hard that it'll be impossible for you not to play me somewhere, and I don't care where that is. You know, I ended up his starting 13 and in his pack for the World Cup, so you know, I did prove him wrong a little bit. And now obviously at Saints, hopefully I'll still be part of his pack alongside Deck, and for me it's just about that. It's just about taking every opportunity I can and giving what I can to the team wherever they need it, because, you know, for me, being part of this team is a privilege, so whatever I can do to help them, I will, and I think, you know, all the rest of the girls will probably echo that.
How do you instill that drive in the young ones coming up now who are just starting out, and they've obviously got all this thing that you never had? How do you intend to pass that to the youth? Because obviously it's really difficult to, you've either got it or you've not, let's be fair.
Yeah, I think the fortunate position with the younger ones now is that there's so much competition for places. If I'm honest, there wasn't for myself and some of the older ones. It was not many people played and not many people really gave it everything. So actually to play at the top level, it didn't take as much as what it takes now, and to play at St Helens didn't take as much as what it takes now. So the competition in the young girls to just get a spot in our squad, let alone play, let alone, you know, get to walk out at Wembley, the competition is what drives their standards, as well as obviously, hopefully, we've got lots of senior girls that are setting those examples for the young girls on how to behave. You know, a lot of people come to us because they want to raise their standards. We've had girls who've left other Super League clubs to join our academy because they believe that being in our academy will raise their standards better than being in a first team Super League team elsewhere. I believe that too, because of the standard of play we've got here and because of the examples we set. I believe we can get the best out of young girls, and I think all the girls that are coming in now, they're so hungry to pull on that shirt, and that's a blessing. That's where we want it to get to, is where it means so much to pull that shirt on. And for these young girls, and they're not all from St Helens, you know, we've got girls who are from Wigan and Warrington and Widnes who are desperate to be part of this club because of what it means to represent St Helens. That's every single team that's ever been here has built the pride in that badge. Now I think we're contributing to that. We're contributing to the power of what that badge means, and the young girls are seeing that and seeing that to walk out there, to ever get the chance to have a heritage number for St Helens is really, really special, and that drives their standards, I think.
I think as well, if you look at this week, with it being half term, the number of, you've got a girls camp running up at Cowley.
Yeah.
Look at the turnout you're getting there. That is testament to what you and the rest of the team are doing on the field. It must make you so proud when you go up and take their session. All those kids are coming out, and you can see them with the Saint shirts on. They've got Cunningham on the back, they've got Rudge on the back. I know that My little granddaughter used to have Jones. She was most upset when TJ went, but she's come round now. But it's so good to see these kids wanting names of the women's game, not the men's game, the women's game on the back. How good is that for you now, thinking, wow, have I really influenced that to do that?
Yeah, it's unreal. There's a little girl called Delilah, and she travels home and away to all of our Saints women's games from Coventry. She watched us at Wembley. She fell in love with the team, and now she travels home and away. I think her dad would have preferred her to pick a more local team, but he's having to set time at work just to make it to games at times. She travelled all the way to Leeds to just watch us train for England at the weekend. And that's powerful. That it shows that it's worthwhile. We're not just ticking a box of having a women's team here. We want to do it right. We want to build value in it, and I think we are doing that. And for me, there's nothing more powerful than seeing a little girl with one of the women's names on the back. And you know, it still sticks with me. I've still got it on my phone. There was a parent tweeted. It was when the men and the women were playing at the same time. It was when we were at Leeds at Ellen Road, and it was a triple header because it was the two men's semis for the Challenge Cup and the women's final. And Saints men were there, obviously we were there, and a little girl decided she was going to wear a Cunningham shirt rather than her Lomax shirt. Oof. And for me, that was the most powerful thing ever, because she was going there to watch both teams, and for her, the fact that she's never going to play for Saints men. She can love Saints men, she can follow them everywhere, she can be the best fan in the world, but that's all she can ever be to the men. But she can be me. She can, you know, she was only a young girl, she was 8 or 9. She can, in 10 years' time, walk out there with her own name on her back in her own shirt. Like, that's what the women's team does for young girls. And, you know, rugby league and the community that St Helens has, everybody, and actually only 50% of St Helens could ever actually make that dream come true. Now, not many are lucky enough to represent the club. You know, the people who are obviously really grateful to do that. But 50% of the population could have the dream. Now everybody can. Now, like, it doesn't matter, you know, we've got our LD team, we've got a wheelchair team now. Anybody in St Helens who wants to can strive and dream to play for this great club, and that's what's really important to me, is that we've created that now for young girls.
Jodie, can I just say something? That what you say and how articulate you are, I feel quite emotional. I'll tell you why. I go back to 1967, and our winger was a girl. And I'll tell you, her name was Jean Clark, and her parents owned the Carmel Hotel. Okay, it was a different sport, it was soccer. But after only 5 games, she was banned because St Helens Council said the schools hadn't got the facilities for changing for her. And she was one of the best wingers, male or female, in terms of playing soccer. And she fought to carry on playing soccer, which she did. We won the cup, but she couldn't play in the cup final. But after that, she carried on. Now she's got a daughter, and with all the other sports that are going on now, she's been brought up to start to play rugby.
Wow.
I just think it's fantastic. And as a woman in Runcorn, as you probably know, she was banned from playing billiards because she was a woman, and she went to court and she won. So all this now about the kind of explosion that's taken place of women's rugby, and also you've got an advantage, not you, but women in general. Because with blokes, there's a lot of them, dare I say this, oh go on, your surname, a certain person who was an international, and I know for a fact that when they were training here at Saints, he said, we're not training with that lot because I'm an international, and with women, generally in terms of socialisation, you're more cohesive, and I think that's an advantage. One last thing, by the way, when you go to Vegas, don't wear shoes like that. My wife got bitten by a scorpion.
Oh, right, okay. Well, I'll be looking out for scorpions then.
And thanks.
No, thank you. No, look, it does mean a lot, and I'm really conscious that at times it can feel like it's men versus women with some of the sport things, and actually it's so not that. Like, if you look at our women's team and the girls who are in all of our pathways now, we've got an under-16s, we've got an academy, they idolise the men and they look up to him, and they're the ones who are spending a fortune in the shop. They come in, they've got season tickets. They invest so much and give so much to the men's game, and all they want to do is just be able to dream to be part of it. And now they can, and that's what it's about. It's never about comparison. It's never about, oh well, they get this, so we need this. It's about, actually, this sport is so attractive to everybody. There's so many women who support it in loads of different ways, whether it's in the stands, whether it's at their local community club, helping in the kitchen, behind the bar, coaching, doing player welfare, team management roles, whatever it is. We've got so many women who give to this game, and yet we didn't have a version of the game that they could actually be part of on a playing perspective, and now we have, and that's only going to make the pie bigger. It's not going to take a slice of the pie. It's going to make the pie bigger for everyone, hopefully. The amount, we've got our own shirt for the first time this year with our own sponsors, different big companies that have invested in this club to be part of the women. That's not taking anything away from the men. That's all putting back into the pot. So that's what's really powerful for me, is that this is all about growing the pie for everyone and just growing rugby league and making it more attractive for everyone to get involved with.
I think as a sport, we're not really good at saying what's good about the sport. We're good at being negative.
Yeah.
And like there's so many good things that this sport creates. So many like relationships that last 20, 30, 40 years. And for me, I just think it's going to get bigger and bigger, and hopefully it gets what it deserves.
Hopefully, yeah. Oh, you're right, Gaz. You don't run too often, I guess. So I reckon you're right.
I do appreciate that, but that's certainly not the case. But thanks for coming in today. I really appreciate it.
Can we give Jodie a big round of applause, please, for coming in? We wish you well in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Thanks again, Jodie. You're an absolute star.